Politics, a marketplace of ideas. The struggle for power, fighting for a better place to live, a better way of living. Us versus them, the just versus the corrupt. However, for many, politics means just one thing: entertainment.
How's the revolution going? You guys starting the revolution?
We are indeed, Alex. The revolution is afoot. Welcome to the Young Turks.
You overthrow America tonight?
I am going to restore American democracy along with progressives and conservatives in this country.
All right, well, I gotta tell you, I am really, really proud to be here with you. It's good to meet you in person.
I don't think
How are you guys doing?
We're doing okay.
You like all our Hillary for Prison shirts everywhere?
No, I kind of despise it.
What shirts are they?
Here,
Look at this. I got a new shirt for you right here. It's Bill Clinton that says, oh God, hide that immediately. That's the big no that Roger Stone's banned.
All right, you want to take my show over? I'll take your show over.
Go ahead.
Okay, you know what? Who does this kind of shirt? First of all, a sick guy. Second of
Bill
all,
Clinton's not folks.
no, you know who's accused in court papers.
Come on.
You know who's accused in court papers of being Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump, Roger Stone. You know that. It's in court papers.
Oh, yeah.
And you're a sick dude, Roger Stone.
Hey, I want to have a rant off with you right now.
You assault me all the time. You never give me a chance to respond.
Oh, yeah, well, I should give you a hatchet job. A job
Bullshit,
to
we'll
respond.
get the mic.
You're a
Come on in.
sick man, Roger Stone.
You're a liar.
Roger,
No,
get in
you're
here.
the world's
Well, get him
biggest
in here.
liar.
Get him in here.
Didn't you admit that you lied about Elliot
Get up here
Spitzer?
right now.
Didn't you already admit that,
You're
you
not
piece
afraid of him,
crap?
are you? You're not afraid of him. Get him in here.
And first of all, Alex, this ain't your show.
I know,
Okay,
no.
and
Oh, so you're
Roger,
afraid to
it
debate
surely
him?
ain't your
Are you
show.
afraid to debate him?
Okay, Roger, yeah, run away.
Roger, don't go. He wants to debate you right now.
I'm not going to debate this guy. You're a hatchet man. I don't know why anyone in the media takes you seriously. All you do is lie. You're known as the biggest liar in media. You're the biggest liar in media.
Lie, loser. There's nobody watching your show, dude.
Don't get too mad. We gotta have a.
Either
What,
way.
Saudi Arabians aren't funny enough, you little shit.
Hey, come on, let me explain something, all right? Okay, this is bull. Okay, hold on. We're against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass! We talk about that all the time.
Oh, really?
We talk about that all the time.
Get off the
You don't
line.
know. What do you think? The lizard people are in charge? Is that what you think?
Hey, you're pissed.
Bill
We're kicking
Burns?
your ass.
Is that what you
You're
think?
the anti-liberal and you're pissed.
Bullshit.
We're being nice here.
It's likely this clip made you feel one of two ways: either annoyed and disappointed with the current state of media, or a cathartic sense of disruption and intrigue. Before we go further, I have to be clear. This video isn't about party loyalty, it's not about political identity, this isn't about who has the best ideology. This is about media, image, and communication. This is about the theatrics of politics.
We don't even have affordable childcare in this freaking country, okay? And the people who fight against those kinds of laws are Republicans.
The accessibility of childcare is important, but it's hard to take anything seriously when one host is having a nervous breakdown and the other host looks like his mouth is about to implode. It's even harder to take seriously when I edit in this guy saying woo. Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian are the hosts of The Young Turks, a news and commentary program aimed at progressives. In a word, I would describe The Young Turks as chaotic. Not so much chaotic in their own beliefs, they are firmly progressive, but the way they portray those beliefs is all over the map.
What do you want them to do with their kids when they have to go to work? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? I want them to answer that freaking question. Answer the question. Journalists, ask them the question. Ask them. Ask them.
Isn't it amazing?
Ask them the goddamn question. God.
Isn't it amazing that not one Democrat has shown 1% of the passion that Anna has today?
They don't care.
They don't
fine.
care.
They're
They don't
fine.
care.
Here, not only is one host interrupting the other, but Cenk tries to play it off as some sort of compassionate one-upmanship. If my goal were to convey compassion, I probably wouldn't start yelling. Repetitive yelling is going to come across as preachy long before it comes across as compassionate. I didn't have to dive too deep to find this clip because Anna has it proudly pinned to her Twitter page. If you want to be taken seriously in the marketplace of ideas, then you shouldn't run your brand like this. The reason why you would run a brand like this is for entertainment.
And they're all caricatures of what you would imagine in some alternate universe of dwarf goblins. It's demonic. They all act demonically possessed. The judge, the lawyers,
serious crap.
I don't want to see him kissing goblins, having political succubus with goblins. I don't want to see him ingratiating goblins.
But then what do you do when they've got the kids going in circles in and out of the building with their hands up? I've watched the footage.
I just don't want to catch him in bed with a goblin.
In some ways, Alex Jones and Cenk Uygur are counterparts in media. Alex Jones launched his show in 1999. Cenk launched his in 2002. Alex Jones doesn't always use the best sources for information, but he makes up for it with showmanship, and he's right more often than you might think. The Young Turks, on the other hand, get their information from more mainstream sources. This makes for more consistent reporting, although it often leads to them regurgitating the same opinions as CNN and NPR. Like Alex Jones, the Young Turks make up for this shortcoming with showmanship.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary.
Maybe we don't like the way you goddamn dress with your stupid dumb beanie. Tim Pool. You all have lunatics in your audience and you weaponize them.
Cenk loves to yell, by the way.
He's wearing a beanie. He's a monster.
Cenk, the Cankster.
We keep our viewers informed.
Tim Pool, Jordan Peterson, all of you idiots. I'm going to defeat your ideas. I care about that. I don't want anybody who's gullible and low IQ to accidentally think you're right.
So you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes. The stories behind the stories.
I'll finish the tweet to be fair. An infinitely stupid man who's mentally ill.
The phrase, "you can't have your cake and eat it too," comes to mind. Aggression and grandstanding don't go well together, especially if you're insulting people while trying to brand your news network as compassionate. Even though Cenk Uygur obviously hates Alex Jones, when you compare their outbursts, it's hard not to think maybe Cenk took some pages out of Alex's book, in that outburst equals controversy, controversy equals views. But there's a reason why this approach suits Alex so much better than Cenk. Alex Jones doesn't pretend to be morally superior. Even though he constantly condemns others, he doesn't come across as egotistical. In terms of optics, there's nothing quite like an incorrect egomaniac.
What's going on here?
And the right wing's like, yes, I love how they little kids like that. Go get them, Boy Scouts. Go get them, priests. Please vote for our and our files. Republicans say. Republicans, you're guilty, okay? And I'll tell you right now, the number one reason they constantly talk about is because it's going through their heads. Non-stop, they're thinking about kids. I guarantee it. The reason Tim Pool wears a beanie is because he's trying to contain the that's in his head. That's what he's always talking about. He's seeing it everywhere. Why?
No, but it's good. It's good though. It's good. Come on, dude. I'm on board with this. This is good. It's good rhetoric. Form is good. Alex Jones is a great entertainer. Let's be real.
It's just running through their head 24/7, and so they think, oh, if I'm thinking it nonstop, I bet everybody's thinking it nonstop.
A lot of the like far right people are also chasers themselves. Like not necessarily that, they don't. It's not that they have like internalized phobia or something, but like. They just can't be comfortable with their sexual desires. If they were just normal and were comfortable, they wouldn't be constantly like trying to own people and like push them aside and try to like.
Oh, I bet they want to
force them.
And I bet they want to get owned by them. I bet they have a lot of thoughts about that.
I don't know. It seems like you both have a lot of thoughts about this. It's weird because the episode of The Young Turks that this came from, Cenk says he's using sarcasm to show the absurdity of Tim Pool's perspective.
Somebody should do something to stop Tim Pool. He's wearing a beanie. He's a monster. He probably little kids because of his stupid beanie. Okay, we don't do that because unlike you, we're not trying to get people killed. Unlike you, we're not monsters.
But then on Hassan's stream, Cenk doesn't claim sarcasm. He firmly doubles down and then some.
So I have a simpler take, and it's one that a lot of people have. It's that it's just running through their head 24/7. And so they think, oh, if I'm thinking it nonstop, I bet everybody's thinking it nonstop. Yeah, well, look, I'll tell you, I said it 20 years ago when we started the Young Turks. No joke. Ben and I were on the air, and I said, look, dude, at this point, the left is 100% defeated. If we ever get to a point where we're considered moderates, that means you'll know that we're close to winning. And so here we are.
Who in their right mind considers the Young Turks to be moderate? If you've been paying close attention to my channel for a while, there's a chance you may have recognized there's an elephant in the room. Roger Stone. You may think of honesty as a dichotomy between truth and lies, between honest men and snakes. And while I agree this spectrum of honesty applies, there is a third group that most people don't consider. The people who are openly dishonest. I know openly dishonest sounds like a weird oxymoron, but the reason why you would hire somebody like Roger Stone as a campaign advisor is for his reputation as a dirty trickster. To put it in a phrase, I would trust somebody who is openly dishonest before I trust somebody who is only honest in secret. In other words, I would trust Jake Tran to manage my investment portfolio before I trust Sam Bankman-Fried.
When people think of Washington corruption, they think of Roger Stone.
Those who say I have no soul, those who say I have no principles, are losers. Those are bitter losers.
Roger Stone is certainly no hero, but if you want to understand the current political landscape, you can't ignore what he's done and why it works.
I revel in your hatred, because if I weren't effective, you wouldn't hate me.
While the Young Turks hate the likes of Alex Jones and Roger Stone, they don't seem to mind embracing some of their tactics. It's almost like Alex Jones has had more influence over the behavior and branding of the Young Turks than Cenk Uygur himself. While I don't know much about Tim Pool, I love how Cenk Uygur's reaction to Tim Pool is to behave like Alex Jones, to the point where his family was making the comparison to Alex Jones for him, and celebrating it.
Talking about it. He's seeing it everywhere. Why?
It's good rhetoric, form is good. Alex Jones is a great entertainer, let's be real.
And even though the Young Turks use more reliable sources, if you misuse that information to draw an erroneous conclusion, then what's the point?
If you're a single mother, then your wealth is only $7,000. You're devastated. It's really hard to take care of the kid, right? And so right wing loves that because they say, see, you better not be a single mother. You better get married. We're gonna force you to get married, okay? But wait a minute, it turns out if you're a single woman who doesn't have a kid, you make more than men. Your wealth is $65,000. The single men's wealth is only $57,000. So you don't need the men at all. Oh, they hate that. They're like, wait, they don't need us? How are we gonna control them? Oh, that's right, you can't.
For context, they're addressing an argument Tim Pool made. He predicts that in a couple decades, the women who decide not to get married are going to regret it. The Young Turks counter-argument largely relies on this financial statistic. First of all, we're not talking about the financial health of the current or a previous population. Tim Pool is merely speculating the happiness of single women in a couple decades.
They'll be 45. I love my life. I'm single and I'm living it up in the big city. They're gonna be 55. And they're gonna say, you know, well, it has its charm. They're gonna be 60 and they're gonna go to the young people and say, I've made a terrible mistake. Don't make the same mistake I did. Yep. But by that point, there's gonna be a generation or two that believed the lies.
Second of all, and more importantly for a progressive news network, people in low-income areas are far more likely to have children, but they read this statistic as if having children leads to poverty. No, it's the other way around. If you're in a low-income area, you're more likely to have a child, you're more likely to have that child when you're young, and you're more likely to have that child accidentally. It kind of baffles me that the Young Turks would go with having baby bad before systematic oppression. I know they wind up using this statistic to advocate for more accessible childcare, but the topic in the first place was happiness in marriage, not the financial burdens of having children. Different studies from different times say different things about happiness and marriage. Marriage is obviously going to be different for every couple. Luckily, neither Tim Pool or the Young Turks are trying to force us to make a decision one way or the other.
Like, let's assume for a second that you're right, which is a preposterous assumption. And women are happy in the beginning, but then they're not as happy later, etc. Like, what business is it of yours? Why are you interfering in their lives? You go, hey, Susan, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm gonna judge you. I'm judging you right now. You're gonna be miserable. Why do you care?
Single millennial women, they're chasing their careers. Many of them are probably doing it due to social pressures. Many of them are doing it because they really want to do it. And for that, nothing but respect.
Don't do that, I'm gonna judge you.
And for that, nothing but respect.
They're constantly in other people's business.
I feel like I see this in media a lot, especially recently. But just because somebody talks about something on the internet doesn't mean they're trying to control your life. This line of reasoning is especially hilarious for the Young Turks, because just like Tim Pool, they are making an argument for a certain lifestyle. By Cenk's standards, that means the Young Turks are trying to dictate your life. And if we're talking about demeanor and behavior, Cenk Uygur acts far more power hungry than Tim Pool.
We're against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass! We talk about that all the the time.
Oh, really?
We talk about that all the time. All right, we're back on the Young Turks. Obviously, a little bit of commotion here. As Alex Jones and a guy significantly worse than him entered the stage.
Here, Cenk is addressing the conflict that I showed at the beginning of the video. This must have been right after Alex Jones was kicked off their set. This is a masterclass in how not to deal with controversy in media.
First of all, I didn't give him permission to come on the set. Yeah, I would never walk onto anybody else's set. Imagine we walk on into the middle of a Fox News, MSNBC, CNN set.
I'm not sure if the moral high ground is the approach you want to take when your lackeys had to hold you back as you shook your fist in somebody else's face on public television. Alex Jones was out of line, but Cenk did not respond rationally whatsoever. It really undercuts their sense of superiority.
So Alex Jones comes here. In the beginning, I wasn't mad at all, right? Okay, he's doing his grandstanding, and he's doing it because we have a much larger audience, and that's the only way he can sneak in and get it to a larger audience.
If you're playing defense in a situation like this, don't bring up the size of your audience. At best, it's not going to do anything, and at worst, it's going to come off incredibly pathetic. Plus, I don't think grandstand is the best choice of words for the Young Turks.
So Alex Jones is now going around telling people that he was invited on the set. That is absolutely false. He is absolutely lying. And let me tell you what's going on behind the scenes at Radio Row, specifically at the RNC, which I haven't talked about at all. This has turned into a circus where members of the media do certain things to get attention, to increase their viewership or their exposure. They don't care how loathsome they have to be in order to get that attention. Alex Jones is a perfect example of that.
If you realize Alex Jones is doing this to get attention, why are you continuing to give him attention? The answer is simple. They want a piece of the controversy as well, but they point the finger at other outlets as if the Young Turks aren't part of the problem.
Oh, look, it's not just Alex Jones and Roger Stone. This whole media has gotten to a point where bad behavior is rewarded.
It's good rhetoric. Form is good. Alex Jones is a great entertainer. Let's be real.
Okay, and sorry for the interruption of the show. Obviously, we had to explain the situation here.
No, you didn't. Not addressing the situation at all may have actually worked better for them, but it's natural to want to respond to something like that. Instead of addressing the situation directly for 9 minutes, I think it would have been a better option to do something short and sweet. Something real quick like, well, that was certainly something, laugh it off, move on. I know they want to use this moment to make a bigger point about the media circus, but we're talking about the Young Turks at the Republican National Convention. In 2016, it's like throwing chum in the water and then getting mad when sharks show up. There were also many better plays that Cenk could have made during the initial confrontation, and for his brand, being hostile was probably the worst option. Consistent anger and outbursts are not indicators of sanity.
So, and then the last set of people who liked how the election went is sane people like us, because we're like, oh, okay, good. At least the lunatics lost, right?
It was
that's like a big deal.
What creates conspiracy theory? Lack of transparency. Knowing that powerful organizations are operating in their own best interest while lying about it. That creates the conditions for conspiracy theory. So Alex Jones, I think, is an example of someone who's emerged because there was a need for Alex Jones. In the instance of this terrible Sandy and its subsequent legal complications, we see where such things are harmful and damaging. There is enough stuff going on to warrant us being cynical, skeptical, and discerning when it comes to dealing with mainstream media narratives.
I can't deny there have been times when Alex Jones has crossed the line, but I honestly believe that Alex Jones is more effective against corruption than the Young Turks. In a world of corruption and a lack of transparency, proper skepticism is one of the best journalistic tools we have. And while Alex Jones is often improperly skeptical, Cenk Uygur just repeats mainstream narratives and then pretends he's somehow different than CNN and the rest of them. Yelling doesn't make you anti-establishment. And for someone who condemns the political circus, Cenk certainly knows how to put on a show. In today's world, sometimes just pointing out the real corruption is all it takes to get labeled as a conspiracy theorist.
These days, increasingly, you see people called conspiracy theorists, like me, for example, because I'm saying the government and big business and the media cooperate in order to tell stories that nullify democratic process and prevent ordinary people from having meaning and agency in their own lives. That's a conspiracy theory to say that when it's plainly true.
All right, that's going to have to do it for this one. Shout out to the best subscriber squad in all of YouTube. I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
If you're bored, if you're bored, you're welcome to leave, Mr. Ortega. Someday tell us about your brother who was employed here.
Mr. Rocco, I think you need to be quiet, okay?
No, I think I need to keep going.
You know, you're not here for the children.
I'm not?
Don't personalize it. Now you have employees. Now you're talking about a brother of mine who passed away.